Greetings, wrestling fans. This is Jim Fannin, the guy you love to hate, or maybe you just hated my guts, period. I have the pleasure of leading you into the Mid-South Memories podcast. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the individuals making the statements, and they do not necessarily reflect those of Nick Maniwa, Mike Ruff, or the BNMVS Podcast Network. This podcast is intended for mature audiences only. The IWA Mid-South shows covered on this podcast contained adult themes. Violence for the sake of violence. Bloodshed for the sake of bloodshed. Explicit language were on these shows because if you ain't hardcore, you ain't shit. So that just leaves one thing left to say. Nick Maniwa, start the podcast.
Guys, gals, non-binary pals, we in here, Pro Wrestling's BFF Nick Maniwa, joined by my co-host Mike Ruff of RuffFigures.com for another episode of Mid-South Memories. Mike, how you doing, bud?
Nick, I'm doing great. It's been a while, but here we are.
Yes, it's been, with the kids being out of school for summer, plus living on different coasts. Well, I'm not even on a coast. Living in the Midwest and you living in California, it was just hard to get it together. Plus, the last time we tried to record, my internet was like crazy from a storm, and it wouldn't stay connected even to make this call to you. So I think that's finally fixed. So here we are, back at it again. We're making up for some lost time, and we already had notes for that show that we were going to do before our hiatus. So the show we are doing this month, or I guess this episode, because we're kind of we've lost the month, what we were doing every month. This episode will be Wrestlemaniwa, which took place June 23rd in 2018, Memphis, Indiana, at the new IWA Arena at the Memphis Flea Market.
It's actually a perfect time for this, Nick, celebrating the second Wrestlemaniwa.
Right, just a couple Sundays ago, Wrestlemaniwa Junior's version, aka Wrestlemaniwa 2, took place here in Jeffersonville, Indiana at Grindhouse Pro Wrestling. If you have a kid or if you're an adult and you want a wrestling birthday party, hit up Too Tough Tony, hit up Reverend Ronnie Roberts, and they can make that happen for you at Grindhouse Pro Wrestling. Such a blast. I mean, they usually have just like the kids on the roster of Grindhouse on the shows just to give them some reps. They have the new trainees be the referee and yada yada yada. And we had the frickin' rejects on our show, like just there to support Nick Maniwa Jr. and the Maniwa family. So that was a blast. If you'd like to see that show, give me a shout and I'll send you a YouTube link. So I'm not going to make it publicly because there's some storyline things within Grindhouse that I don't want to mess up because of people appearing on my show. So, all that being said, June 23rd, 2018, this show came to be because I was a stay-at-home dad and my wife was working and she was pregnant with our daughter Tegan, and she got let go from her job as she was like 7-8 months pregnant.
Super
so
fun.
it was a real blow, to go from having that weekly paycheck to not having anything. And with me being a stay-at-home dad, I hadn't worked in, like 5 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it may be. So it took quite a minute to find a job that was significant enough to be able to pay the bills and stuff like that. I couldn't just go to a McDonald's and get a job. I had to, find something that was worth my time and effort and all that stuff, which is when I started working at the hotel and doing security there. So it took quite a bit of time. This came to be, I believe it was Reed Bentley and Ian that decided they were going to do this and run the show. I didn't ask for this, didn't ask for the GoFundMe that, popped up at the time. I was, we were just trying to figure it out as best we could. And thus, this show came to be. I'm not going to be too negative about stuff on the show because everyone did the show for absolutely free. all the money made for the show due to donations, ticket sales, all that stuff came to me and Jess to help pay our bills and all that stuff. So I will not be bearing anything on this show. Before this viewing for you, Mike, had you, I'm guessing no, watched the show or heard about this show or anything like that?
I don't think so. I definitely hadn't seen it. I don't think we were as close as we are right now in terms of our friendship, and I don't think I was tracking any of that.
Right.
So I'm gonna probably go ahead and say no. I think I had some knowledge of it later on, like a couple of years ago when we were talking.
Right.
Having, you know, it having happened and the Wrestlemaniwa name and all that good stuff, but never seen the show. Wasn't super familiar with the circumstances other than just general knowledge of what was going on with you. And so it was a little bit of a learning experience and an intro to some of these guys that I wasn't terribly familiar with or familiar at all with.
Right. We kind of fell out of daily talking or weekly talking a little bit there. I always tell people, like, you're not on any social media, which is how, a lot of people keep in touch nowadays. So I don't even know how we got back into it. I think I texted you randomly or something. And then it was just like, well, this is what we do now. We just text daily.
That's the thing, is if you don't have social media and you're still able to keep in touch or reconnect, then you know that the friendship is valid.
Right, absolutely. So like I said, this is June 23rd, 2018. The top movie is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. I have seen that. I've seen all those Jurassic Park movies. I'm a big dinosaur fan. We're a dinosaur fan in this house, whether it be Jurassic Park or Godzilla or anything with big animals. The Maniwas are all about it. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, same. That's definitely the one in the series where it starts getting a little weird with the cloning and all that crazy stuff. And it kind of explodes in the last one, which is terrible. But up until that point, great movies. Love them. Big fan of the Jurassic Park / World series. My kids even love them. They don't find them scary. They think they're cool. I think their favorite is the first Jurassic World, which is a great reboot and like honest to the series. So anyways, Fallen Kingdom's cool. It was a little weird, but I was into it.
Did you see?
My wife's favorite part is when they're doing the auction and there's like a Russian guy in the crowd and they're asking for bids and he's like, 20 millions. That's her favorite part. So every time it comes on, like, everybody has to shut up for that part. So we can hear the Russian guy say 20 millions.
Right.
And it's not 20 million, it's 20 millions.
Right. Fantastic.
Sorry for that accent. I hope nobody's offended.
I love little bits like that where you just take something and then it just, you run with it. Me and Jess have so many stupid things that will just break out or.
They're meaningless too.
Right. Like nobody knows what you're talking about if you didn't live in that moment. Did you see recently where?
Oh, sorry.
Did you see recently where they found? Oh, go ahead, dude.
So totally unrelated, but
yes,
totally related. Spider-Man 3. That's the one with Venom with Tobey Maguire. So there's this part in that movie where he's going evil and he's kind of a douche and he's like walking down the street like doing this ridiculous dance and like shaking his hips kind of like Rick Rude style. Right. So like in our house when that part comes on, everybody stops what they're doing and like stands up and does the dance along with Peter Parker. It's so great. It's hilarious.
You have to. I mean,
you have to. There's like a James Brown song on the background. It's a fantastic moment in cinema.
Fantastic. I was going to say, did you see recently where they found a woolly rhino? Like in like Argentina or something? Yeah, or somewhere recently. This was just in the news like last week or something.
So like a woolly mammoth, but rhino edition?
Yes.
Oh,
let me see where it... let me try to see where it was. Well, now I can't find it, so... Maybe I was punked by by fate. I'm like an old man now. No.
They have the La Brea tar pits out here, and it's supposed to be like where dinosaurs got stuck in tar pits and kind of like, what is the word? Fossilized?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Like, I remember going there as a kid and being like, you don't see anything. Like,
right.
See, but it's like, oh, this is a place where dinosaurs were.
Yeah, there's dead dinosaurs down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Siberian gold miners accidentally find ancient woolly rhino mummy with horn and soft tissue still intact.
That's dope. How do you accidentally find that?
Right. Well, they're looking for gold, so they're just digging and digging, you know?
Like, fuck, I found a woolly rhino.
in Siberia, and I think I read something, or it might have been about another woolly mammoth, but like one of the researchers was like, the skin was softer than beef jerky, which is crazy to think about. Like, that's so soft. Like, what? and, you know, they're gonna try to recreate these things, and Jurassic Park is gonna be a real thing eventually.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
probably not in our lifetime, but hopefully. I would love to be drinking margaritas at Margaritaville and then have to run for my life when a T-Rex pops through.
My wife would be at Starbucks.
Right.
Yeah, that's the feeling that I got watching those, though. Like, the only reason this isn't real is because it's an ethical problem, not because it's not possible.
Right, absolutely.
It's disturbing.
Yeah. There hasn't been enough science or money to actually do this yet, but I'm sure it's coming with sure. AI and all that dumb shit.
Hopefully we can get B.D. Wong, the actor who plays the scientist, to reprise his role. I feel like that's actually him, though. Like, in real life, he's definitely building dinosaurs.
The top song, I believe this is correct. Nice for What by Drake.
The fucking Drake, man.
I know. Wasn't he the one last time, too? I guess he's pretty popular. He hadn't been killed.
Same? Yeah.
Was that the same?
I don't know. Maybe they all sound the same.
Right. I'm not a big Drake fan. I do know some of these champions are the same because, you know, it was only a couple months after we did the last 2018 show, because we did April Blood Shower. So this is June. So it's not, that far. Dolph Ziggler is the current WWE IC champion. AJ Styles is the current WWE World Champion. The Bludgeon Brothers of Luke Harper and Eric Rowan are the WWE Tag Team Champions. The Deleters of Worlds, Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy are the World Tag Team Champions. And Austin Aries is your Impact World Champion.
Who?
Right. Little guy.
Great guy.
From
all accounts, a wonderful person. We said we weren't going to bury anybody that's on the show that worked for free, right?
Yeah, just on the show. He's not on the show, so.
Fuck him.
I always had good experiences with Austin Aries. It seems like he's lost the plot lately, so I got nothing for him.
I know nothing about him other than the fact that he seems a little unusual in his social interactions.
Yes.
Even in interviews, like, you can't really tell if it's a shoot.
Right.
Like, it's a shoot interview, but you can't really tell if it's a shoot.
Right. I agree totally. I've never, before this viewing to take these notes, I had never watched this show back fully edited, so I didn't realize that Jeremy used my podcast intro for the menu next match music, and I laughed so hard. I was like, this is so stupid.
Every single time between every match.
I think he eventually stopped doing that and would just have the match, the show all the way through. But that really got me good. I was cackling watching it back.
For someone like myself who's not familiar with most of these guys, it was helpful to have those in betweens with the names. Because it's hit or miss on IWA shows if you're getting that. The Smart Mark ones always had them. The other ones are kind of hit or miss, I think.
Yeah, Jeremy, he goes by Prophet of Ash Video on social media. He basically had done a little editing and stuff like that for IWA Mid-South, and then we needed a new editor, and he took it on, and he basically learned how to edit and became one of the best now of the Midwest by doing all these little Memphis shows and Jammer shows and, the arena shows and just learning, okay, I can do this nameplate like this, or I can fade this in or do this. So shout outs to Jeremy for,
good for him.
Learning how to do all this and, still old money. Imagine that. But, if it wasn't for him, all this stuff would still be on a hard drive of mine somewhere because, nobody else edited it. But here we go. The first match. Scott Sexton taking on Adam Slade. Scott Sexton was a Kentucky guy that did a tryout show in Illinois in like 2008, 2009, maybe 2010. And it was him and Lincoln Mosley, who we will see later on the show. They're from Kentucky. They went up to Illinois and did a tryout show and then, didn't get called back. And they were kind of bitter about it. So they actually went to, I don't know if it was Ian's actual job when he was working at Taco Bell, and that's not a joke. He was actually working at Taco Bell.
Let me pause you, Nick.
Yes.
Is that a urban legend that he got fired for the gig marks on his forehead?
That is our urban legend. I guess people called and said, he had diseases and he shouldn't be around food and all that stuff. I don't really remember. I think he ended up moving is why he left that Taco Bell. But Scott Sexton and Lincoln Mosley went either to the Taco Bell that Ian worked at or went to a Taco Bell and did a video like shooting on Ian and talking shit and ragging on Ian and whatever. So, years later, Lincoln Mosley and Amazing Maria started dating, and Maria was basically like, hey, do this show. You're not going to get paid, and maybe you can, win over Ian after talking shit and being idiots. And that's what happened, and that's what, led to Lincoln Mosley, Sexton, and some others getting roster spots in IWA Mid-South. Scott Sexton came out to Hate Me Now by Nas and Puff Daddy, which was the music of former IWA Mid-South heavyweight champion Blaze, who recently passed away as of last year. So thoughts and love to Blaze's family and friends and anyone that will listen to this podcast. Hopefully you're not hearing this for the first time. He was a great dude. Dude got incredible heat. He would do like 2 or 3 laps around the ring every show and just yell at people and cut promos. And he's just this guy from, Louisville, and he would be all, you hicks, you rednecks. And, he has this country ass accent. Great dude. Him and Corporal Robinson were tag partners for quite a while in IWA Mid-South. He was definitely a top heel. As soon as that music hit, middle fingers pop up in the air and people are ready to give Blaze some shit as he came out. So, babyface Adam Slade was something we did not see a lot in IWA Mid-South after this. It's myself and OGB, Brian Vincent, on the call. Harbo in charge of the roam cam, and referee Sean Patrick O'Brien in the stripes for this one. Big B throws out a Tarek the Great reference due to the skillet of Adam Slade. Slade would later go on to do I think he did a hair versus beard match against Reed Bentley because he wanted to get rid of the hair and he lost the match. So he has been bald since 2018 after that match.
Probably a good call.
Right. Solid match. I have a note of a super kick that was especially violent for a 2. Scott Sexton debuted in 2006, earliest his cage match goes back to anyway. Yeah, the IWA tryout show was in 2008. He has 56 matches on his cage match, 8 of those including the tryout in IWA Mid-South. I don't believe he is still active in pro wrestling. Adam Slade's still active in pro wrestling. You might have seen him as a tag team with Bradley Prescott IV in the Lost Boys. They wrestle for Black Label Pro. They go out to Vegas for Grap House and still an active pro wrestler. Great dude, Adam Slade. Love seeing him when I'm able to. You can hear me clapping for the good guys on commentary. I have no shame in that. Sometimes sometimes, the crowd wasn't making enough noise. I had to, start clapping or booing or whatever I had to do because, that's what I do. Any comments about this match or this opening of a show, Mike Ruff?
The only thing that bothered me was the Superman shirt that Adam Slade walked out to the ring with. I feel like that should be sacred in IWA.
Right.
That's a hero thing.
Right. Hang it in the rafters.
That's right. Every iteration of IWA Arena should have had a Superman shirt hanging in the rafters.
Right.
That's a good call. Along with maybe
the trip pants.
Yeah, right. Maybe a Too Tough Tony jersey next to it because the jersey's kind of cool, other than the fact that it's ICP. But
right.
Yeah, that's a good call, Nick.
Right. Next match. Oh, go ahead, man. Sorry.
Pretty simple.
I'm just ready to cut you off. So
it's all good.
People are gonna shit on us this whole episode. They're like, Maniwa wouldn't let Mike Ruff talk.
No, please, you're covering for me. You're carrying me. The thing that I thought was funny was that there was a flipping neckbreaker that was kind of the finish and 3 count, and it was on the guy who's known for the neckbreaker.
Yes.
So
the
he got a win
narrator of the neckbreaker.
The neckbreaker guy.
Yeah, it was probably an extra like "F you, man." Hey, you shit on my boss. Let me hit you with a neckbreaker. Narrator of the neckbreaker, Scott Sexton. Scott Sexton was another good dude. Always had good interactions with him. I think he still follows me on Twitter, so I wish him nothing but the best. Next up, we have the big man, Jake Brake, with Lemon Juice McGee. Jake Brake and Lemon Juice were like Central Kentucky, Southern Kentucky guys, and once they heard about this show, they said, we will be there. So again, nothing but love to anyone that performed on this show. They're taking on Kagan Smith in this one. Rob Boss, the official, who actually, if you watch any of those Memphis arena shows, Rob Boss started as a fan in the front row. And since he lived close by to Memphis, somewhat in the area, he became a referee just in case, Sean P couldn't be there, or Jake Brake, was he Big Rig Jake Brake? I don't remember. Jake Brake is 7 foot tall. At this point, probably close to 500 pounds. He is a mountain of a man. Kagan Smith has to be pushed out of the locker room because he does not want to fight Jake Brake. Kagan Smith is a small man, a twink, if you will, no longer in pro wrestling. OGB, Big B, Brian Vincent, whatever you want to call him, said, Lemon Juice was in the parking lot probably like 6 months ago trying to sell me a fucking watch. And I laughed so hard. I didn't remember that at all. And I just cackled at Big B going into business for himself and just making up shit
you guys
on the fly. Yeah, I love B. He's a great dude. I still talk to him, quite regularly. Jake wins with a deadlift chokeslam and a foot on the chest. Jake walks almost to the back, and I believe he goes to the curtain, and then someone else sends him back out to kill the kid some more. So he kills the kid some more. Thanks for coming. Kagan Smith no longer in pro wrestling. Jake Brake, I believe, is still doing shows, and I believe Lemon Juice McGee is as well. Anything for this mauling of a small little man.
Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned that Jake Brake was from Central or Southern Kentucky. I feel like he is Central and Southern Kentucky.
Right, man, right.
That is a large man.
He is a big individual. He's actually lost. I sent pictures when we were originally going to do this. He actually has lost some weight, and he's not as wide, but he's still just as tall. So
gigantic. And that was a massive singlet that he was wearing, and it's hard to find gear that's appropriate for a man that big. But
right.
A great decision to book him against a guy that's 5 times smaller than him too. Like it just made it's like that classic wrestling thing that we've talked about before. Like, you don't have to know anything about these characters, but when you look at them, you know the deal. And that's kind of what this match was to me.
Absolutely agree with that. Jake Brake, unfortunately, never came back. I don't know if it was a distance wasn't worth the pay that he would get, or if anyone ever hit him back up. But
he definitely could. A different character now, right?
I don't think he's Big Rig anymore. Or it's probably not even Big Rig. Let me look it up before I'm pissing people off.
The funny part
too. No, it was Big Rig.
The funny part at the end of the match is, and I don't recall who it was, but someone's like, "Hey, Kagan Schmidt, thank you for your service."
Right. Yeah, thanks for coming, man. God bless. Next up, we have the Murphy Boys, Jesus, versus NVS. This is the IWA Mid-South debut for all 4 competitors. The Murphy Boys used Some Cut by Trillville, which if you are not aware of that song, definitely a banger. The Murphys had already won 2 sets of tag team titles. At this time, had worked in the area for Paradigm Pro, so they were known. The MVS team at this point is Chad Stallings and Lincoln Mainstream Mosley. Scott Sexton and Lincoln Mosley used to be NVS back in the day, and I don't know if it was like a Freebird type thing or what, but for this show, it is Chad Stallings and Lincoln Mosley. And it kind of surprised me because I remember the Murphy Boys debuting, but the IWA crowd immediately starts chanting for him, which is very rare in all the history of IWA Mid-South, that you get a chant before anything even happens, before the match. The fans are totally into you. Mosley went on to have 44 more matches with IWA after this. Had a fun run where he was, the Memphis guy in the hardcore promotion. He got punished and he had to wrestle Matt Fremont one time, and then he got punished and he was in a deathmatch tournament one time, and he had a fun run with Ace Perry during the later years of IWA Mid-South. I don't think he's active anymore. I don't think Chad is active anymore. And I don't believe either of the Murphy Boys are active anymore, which is a shame. I think the Murphy Boys just teased a reunion recently, so hopefully that comes to be. If it did, I will update it on a future show. There's a point where someone gets crotched.
All up in those nuts.
He was deep in those nuts. Just so stupid. Like, I don't remember, like, all these shows run together for me. I have no memory of anything. Even though this was like my show, I didn't run it or anything like that. I just did commentary, did my usual IWA shit. So I didn't recall any. He was deep in those nuts for a nut shot. The Murphy Boys win with a double ace crusher pancake type maneuver. And the Murphy Boys would go on to win the IWA Mid-South Tag Team titles not long after this, and became quite regular in IWA. Great dudes. Love both of them. Like I said, Lincoln Mosley had quite the run. A fun little tag match, and basically 3 out of the 4 guys got, a spot off of it. Mike, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, they even got the "Please Come Back" chant at the end, which I thought was pretty cool. And like you said, they were over from the get-go. Like, I don't know, I figured there was a backstory to it, like they were just popular in the area or something. But from the break, they were getting chants and cheers and all kinds of good stuff. So, yeah, super impressive performance from them. And I thought, like, as their debut, it was a hell of a way to make a debut. The other team, the NVS team, I know it was mentioned in commentary that Lincoln Mosley had a tryout like 10 years before and never got a call back. And you kind of touched on that earlier, but It's just kind of funny to go through that, like the tryout thing, never get called, and then there's a show where folks are going to be working for free. I'm like, hey, you want to work a show?
Right. Yeah,
I got a show for you.
I think it was Maria being like, hey, you idiots, if you ever want to be in IWA, do this show and you can get some brownie points.
Right, that's how it works.
But, like, I think what people, didn't understand about those tryout shows is, like, for the IWA Mid-South tryout shows, you paid a fee, and then if you got over, the fans liked you, you would get booked again, at least. If you were in the area, if it worked out. I mean, we had guys fly from California for one of these tryout shows, and it's like, what? I don't know what you're expecting here. Like, do you have family in the area that you're going to visit every now and then? Like, we're not going to fly you from California just because, you did a fucking 450 on a tryout show. So, I don't know what people expected. And MVS of Scott Sexton and Lincoln Mosley, probably just had an all right tryout show match in 2008 or whatever it was, and then expected a call back. Like, if Ian or whoever told you, like, hey, you did good, come back, we can do something with you or whatever, and they never did that, and then they got pissed about it. So yeah.
And I mean, at any given time, what's the bar for IWA talent? Like, guys have an inflated perception of how good they are, and they think they belong. And it's like, yeah, we may not be at our peak right now, but we still have a standard that's higher than what you can probably do.
Right, and it's like,
or there's some politicalness going on,
Yeah, and it's like, you live in Kentucky somewhere, Central Kentucky, Southern Kentucky. You want to drive to Illinois every month to, be fodder for, someone that lives in Illinois and is on the IWA roster. You want to lose to Mustafa Ali or Trick Davis, and that's what your run's going to be here, or you rather wait and we have a spot for you, and this is what we're going to do with you. Sadly, it never comes for some people, or it never came for some people, and then something like this pops up. So yeah,
it's funny to predict when the right time is, right? Because there's some guys like Mance Warner and them that came through the tryout shows, right? Even Reed.
Yeah, Reed Bentley did a tryout show. John Wayne Murdoch did a tryout show as Damian Payne. That's why they were the tryout show rejects, because they were not picked. And I was able to, sneak Reed Bentley in a back door and got him in after meeting him in 2010.
Yeah.
And then John Wayne Murdoch came and did a King of the Death matches as Damian Payne, and that's how he was able to get in. So just because, it didn't work out 2008, 2 years later, here comes, your spot. Oh, we got this King of the Death for you. Or next up, we had the match of Brandon Taggart versus Billy Mattern. Billy Mattern out first. He's a punk rock type guy. He has a big ass mohawk, and he immediately flips the bird. Taggart comes out raising hell, yelling at Miss Donna. He calls a fan a chuckle fuck. These are two heels, which, probably could have been switched up a little bit, but I think that was all we had, so we had to just throw these two together. On commentary, I explained the layout of the arena as we switched the commentary booth to the other side for King of the Death matches to allow more chairs to be, in the arena. Another solid match, just, beating the dog shit out of each other. Taggart wins with the Blue Thunder Bomb. Any thoughts about this one, Mike?
Yeah, like you said, the double heel dynamic was funny. And, I mean, if I know that going into the match, I'm probably not going to come out the curtain and flip the bird immediately.
Right.
I may hold off on that one.
Right.
But if it's all you got, it's all you got. Yeah, not too much to say. Like you said, both guys kind of getting on the fans and being heels. I think that's kind of, I mean, it was cool. There was a little bit of awkwardness, but nothing, I mean, it was okay.
Right. I enjoy both Brandon Taggart and Billy Mattern. Brandon Taggart still active for Generation Next Pro Wrestling. He recently defeated Shane Mercer a few months ago at one of those shows, and one of the shows before that, he defeated Josh Alexander, the Walking Weapon, with some chicanery. But great dude. You may have seen him, listeners, as part of the Dying Days of Evolve. He did one of the seminars, and Gabe really liked him and was pushing him pretty heavily. And then unfortunately Evolve died, and in combination with COVID, he took a hiatus from pro wrestling for a little bit. Just a big guy that can move, that can get heat. Nothing more I can say about Brandon Taggart. Just I am, anytime he's like, okay, I want to wrestle again, I'm like, book Brandon Taggart. Someone book him. He's great. And I'm just a big fan. Billy Mattern's still active as well. I believe he's active in Madison and other promotions in Indiana. Another great dude. I've made figures of both of these guys. Nothing but love for both of these guys.
How do you know how young in their careers this match was?
Billy Mattern actually started pretty young in wrestling. Obviously, he had only been in IWA for a little bit at that time. So this is, pretty new for his IWA career, I think. But he had been wrestling for quite a while. And then Taggart, I believe he was a Roger Ruffin guy student, and then finished up with Larry D, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. So don't quote me, but definitely new to their IWA careers, I guess you would say, for both of these guys.
Yeah, Taggart at one point hit a really nasty rolling clothesline, and Mattern flew across the ring. Obviously, there's a big size discrepancy, right? But it made it look great.
Right. Yeah. Taggart always had, strikes and throws, and he was in a mini feud with this little guy Ronnie Deo, who was a Ricky Shane Page trainee, who was a skinny ska kid that had dreadlocks, and for some reason the IWA fans really connected with him and loved him. I don't know if it started ironically and then they just really started liking the guy or what, but we put him in a feud with Brandon Taggart just to be this big guy's picking on this little guy, and they had some super fun matches. Taggart wrestled Mance in a little mini feud too, in 2017, 2018ish, when Mance was newly babyface, I think. So definitely worth seeking out if you enjoyed Brandon Taggart at all. The next match, for some reason, I'm just hey, let's make this old school IWA rules, because they're
someone brought a weapon to the ring.
Yes, it is Mike Roach and Justin Storm, and I think they start with thumb war, a thumb wrestling match, and then did I make it old school after that? Hey, quit fucking around. I don't remember if I.
There was a water jug bat that was brought out, and I think that's kind of what did it, and they were just yeah.
The fans were hey, you brought that out, we want to see you use it type shit.
Yeah.
They were playing patty cake. They did a bar fight, right, and they were doing patty cake, and then they started punching each other. Rough headbutts and strikes in this one. Mike Roach coming off a first round loss in King of the Death 2018. He was in a match with JC Rotten and Nick Gage. Justin Storm breaks a water jug over the head of Mike Roach, which makes the damnedest sound. Mike breaks one over the head of Justin Storm. There is an attempted jackknife pin, which made me die laughing on commentary. I think they just got tangled up and they couldn't get couldn't get flipped over correctly or grab the legs correctly or whatever the case may be. Justin wins with a pretty swanton bomb. Justin Storm would go on to win the So You Want to Be a Deathmatch Star tournament a few weeks later, which is the developmental tournament to the Prince of the Death matches.
Interesting.
He beat Eddie Only in the finals of that one.
So what happened in the beginning of the match, Nick? It was announced, I think you announced it as a regular rules match, and the fans were hey, we want to see that used. So you were yeah, okay, fine, old school rules, and then everybody kind of went crazy.
Okay,
and then after that, they did the bar fight kind of situation, and one of the guys, I can't recall which one it was sitting in the chair backwards.
Yes.
And you made the comment that it was AC Slater style, and that got a chuckle out of me. That's what the cool kid does, right?
Right.
Yeah, and like you said, the awkward jackknife pin, I think it was even after he had used the jug and it ricocheted and hit himself, and then there was a jackknife pin that was kind of screwy. But yeah, it was funny.
Next up, we have Billy the P returns for the Penthouse Forum with Maze and Maria. I don't have too many notes on this. Bentley comes out, like they're bringing out people. Bentley comes out after John Wayne Murdoch, and at this point, John Wayne was heel, Bentley was babyface, and they are not together as a tag team. And Bentley goes, I like that Billy's back, but you're a jackass, John. And the fans lose it. And then at this point, John's deal was like, it's always fuck me. It's always fuck me, Murdoch. Monday, fuck me. Tuesday, fuck me. Wednesday, fuck me. And he goes on, and then he's like, Saturday, fuck me twice. And he's just losing, and he's just like this conspiracy theorist, Memphis bullshit, chicken shit heel, which is my favorite John Wayne Murdoch that can exist in pro wrestling. And this basically just sets up the main event, which is a no-rope barbed wire match, which was already announced, but this sets up that there's going to be managers and that Amazing Maria is the special guest referee. Any thoughts about this segment, this Piper's Pit, the Billy the P Penthouse Forum?
There's a lot to unpack, like you said, but it just set up the main event and the players involved in that main event with the managers and all that fun stuff. Yeah, the interactions with John and Bentley were pretty funny. And like you said, it's like the typical John Wayne Murdoch, Memphis dick, coward heel kind of crybaby stuff, which is great. He does a really good job of that. I think he doesn't get enough credit for it. But yeah, I mean, it sets up the main event. There's some funny stuff with Billy the P and Amazing Maria. And yeah, set up the main event well in a show that probably didn't have a whole lot of storyline built into it.
Right.
So it gave it a little more meaning, not to mention the fact that it's a no-rope barbed wire match for no reason.
Right. Yeah, just so everyone knows, it was not me that asked these people or recommended or suggested this to all three competitors. I think Ian told me that they offered to do it. I don't know what the real story is. I could have asked Reed Bentley, but I hadn't thought about it until right now. So they knew, all three of them knew that nothing in this area really drew unless there was death matches involved. So maybe they did say, hey, we can do this or, whatever. They had definitely done death matches for less people in that building. So, maybe, it's like a muscle memory thing at this point. Like, well, fuck it, it's for Maniwa. So, yeah, so that set up the main event. Next match, semi-main event, Logan James taking on Shane Mercer. This is Logan James' sixth match in IWA Mid-South. Logan went on to become a Triple Crown winner here in IWA, winning the Junior Heavyweight title, the Tag Team title, and the World title. It seems like Logan James has fallen off the face of the earth. He's not on social media anymore. And that doesn't mean that he's fallen off the face of the earth. You're not on social media. You're not dead or whatever. Not actively pro wrestling, which is a damn shame. Logan James is one of my favorites to watch, one of my favorites to talk wrestling with and just be around. Nothing but love for Logan James. This match starts immediately with a moonsault and battery for a 2. Logan hits the Project James, which is the powerbomb lung blower, for a 2 for a hot start. These guys go like 16 minutes and they're just killing it. It's a great match. They're just doing, so much shit, and everyone worked this show for free. So, I could, my family can make as much money as possible to pay our bills and pay rent and get stuff for the baby coming in a month and whatever that's, people talk shit about, IWA and Ian and whatever now, but like that was the IWA way, like especially for our own, you know what I mean? Like everyone worked hard, everyone busted their ass. There wasn't no half-ass bullshit, no half-ass mailing it in, phoning it in, whatever. Everyone just worked super hard and had a kick-ass match, and that's what happened here with Logan James and Shane Mercer. What did you think about this one, Mike?
Yeah, to go back to that point, I think it's a cool sense of community to have, like, everybody kind of chips in and does what they can. Ian's the promoter. He can promote a show to raise money. All the guys can work. They're going to work to raise money. Guys like Bentley and Murdoch, their thing is the hardcore deathmatch style wrestling. So that's what they're going to do to try to help the cause and help you guys out. So I thought that was cool. The match itself, like you said, Logan James, I think at this point is super young in his IWA career. Like,
yep, 6
he had
matches
just
in.
arrived. Yeah. There was a couple cool spots where the dynamic between the muscly powerhouse guy and the smaller technical guy is kind of on full display. And I think like Logan hits some kind of a suicide dive and gets locked up in a headlock, and then Mercer just kind of uses his strength to kind of, pull him around the ring and stuff like that. So stuff that you don't see every day was a lot of what I liked about this match. And I think at this, having not seen much of Logan James super early, there was a point in the match where you could tell that there was something special with him in this match. And it's hard to explain unless you see it. Like, there is a point where you're like, okay, this isn't just one of these guys. It's not just a throwaway match for this guy, and there's something special there. So I appreciated being able to see that. Mercer did some more crazy, like, electric chair German suplex, stuff like that, just to show off his strength, and that's kind of what he does. And I mean, it was good to see kind of a young guy getting put in with a proven name of a different style, and then being able to have a really good match.
Right. I think, some of the fans, and it wasn't a large percentage of them, but there was some vocal fans that were like, why is Ian pushing this Logan kid? That's Ian's new golden child. That's Ian's new pet project, and yada yada. And I mean, when someone's going in there, with Shane Mercer, with Myron Reed, with Michael Elgin at the time, like, killing it every single time, like, why would you not put everything behind this guy? Like I said when we started talking about this match, nothing but love for Logan James. It is a goddamn shame that Logan James and Tyler Matrix didn't do more as a tag team, because together they were one of the best, and for quite a few years it was Logan James, Tyler Matrix, Kevin Giza, Lucas Jacobs, Aaron Williams, Jake Chris, John Wayne, whatever, keeping this area, keeping IWA alive, and especially the first 4 that I mentioned. We always called them the OVW kids because they came from OVW and, jumped to IWA and just do whatever you asked, did it to perfection damn near every single time. Great dudes. I love them all, and nothing more to say. I mean, just great guys. Shout out to Logan James if you're out there somewhere listening. And then with that one, we go to the No Rope Barbara main event. And this is John Wayne Murdoch with Billy the P, Reed Bentley with Jason Saint as his manager, and JC Rotten with CJ Hatler for his manager. I forgot the part during the Penthouse Forum. JC comes out and he's like, hey, I don't have a manager. And then he sees CJ over there sitting in the crowd. He's like, all right, you're my manager tonight. This is what we're going to do. And this is everything you would expect from hearing those 3 names in a No Rope Barbara match. This is a spectacle. Bentley brings John Wayne Murdoch over to the commentary booth, and I hit him with a light tube, which was totally not talked about before. Just happened, spur of the moment. I showed that clip to Nick Jr., and he's like, what? What is going on? He was freaking out about it. CJ Hatler jumps off the wall onto everyone. They're all bleeding buckets. They're going in the barbed wire. There's bar fights. They're going into shopping carts and just real fucking craziness. This is the epitome of IWA, I think you would say. Just craziness. What do you have to say about this one, Mike?
Yeah, epitome of IWA craziness. There's so much going on. At one point early on in the match, Reed gets sabooed with a chair, and I think it makes everyone a little uneasy to see that.
Right, yeah.
Him.
With Franken Bentley.
Yeah. One of my favorite spots was super early in the match. Reed hit his Regalplex into the wire on JC, which is it's not really shocking, but it's pretty brutal just to trust that the barbed wire is going to catch you also.
Right.
Just like you said, craziness. It boils over everywhere. At one point, Bentley takes, I think it was Murdoch, over to right around the commentary area and calls you down and has you deliver what I can say was a beautiful light tube shot.
Yes.
And you said that was the first one you had ever done. Is that
first one I had ever hit someone else with? I had broken them before in like dumpsters and stuff,
Yeah.
when doing cleanup, but I had never hit anyone with a light tube. So yes, first time ever. And like I said, uncalled. They didn't say, hey, during the match, I'm going to bring John over and you're going to hit him with a light tube. It was just, spur of the moment type thing. Totally crazy. Did not expect that to happen in the main event. I didn't write who won the match. Was it John Wayne and a fuck? Is that what happened?
It was John Wayne who pinned JC for the 3.
Yeah.
He threw him into the wire, and then he threw Reed into the wire, and then
stole it from Reed.
Yeah.
Right. Then afterwards, there's a nice little promo from Reed Bentley putting me over. I'll probably end the show with that, end this podcast with that, because I like to put myself over. They say if we have to do this multiple times, we'll do it multiple times. Yada yada yada. Thankfully, they did not have to do it multiple times. I found a job at the Omni Hotel and did that for a year and a half or so until we got back on our feet, until Jess said, I'm tired of being at home with these damn kids, so let's switch spots. I'll go back to working and you can stay home. So that's what happened. Wrestlemaniwa 2018, the first ever Wrestlemaniwa. Back in like 2013, I was helping out a promotion called Wolfpack Championship Wrestling.
Oh.
And you would think it would be WCW, Wolfpack Championship Wrestling, but they split Wolfpack up, so it was WPCW because, whatever. And they had a show on my actual birthday, so I was like, let's call it WrestleManiwa. And then someone was like, no, we can't do that. WWE will sue us. And I'm like, brother, WWE doesn't know you exist. Like, you're running at the Charlestown Civic Center. They've never heard of you, bro. They're not gonna give a single shit. And then they wouldn't. And then even though it wasn't officially called WrestleManiwa, I still called it WrestleManiwa. And then I tried to do a show the next year called WrestleManiwa. That sadly did not work out. So this was the first ever WrestleManiwa. And then we had WrestleManiwa 2, aka WrestleManiwa Junior's version. I really wanted Junior's version to pop off, because of the Taylor Swift thing, and everyone just called it WrestleManiwa 2. I guess WrestleManiwa 3 may be happening sometime next year, so I'll keep everyone posted on that. This is available on IWTV. That's how we watched it. If you want to see a No World Bar match, Joey Murdoch, Reed Bentley, and JC Rotten, definitely worth your time. Fun stuff I would definitely, if I'm suggesting this to anyone, I would definitely go back and watch the semi-main event and the main event if you respect my opinion, or two super fun matches to end that show. I don't think I said if the action looks like it's coming your way, it is. Maybe I said it off mic or it wasn't filmed. The Nick Maniwa hits the music, best theme of the show. I think that goes to the Murphy Boys of Some Cut by Trillville, just because as soon as they hit the curtain, people would be dancing and singing and bopping along. And any closing thoughts about WrestleManiwa for this one, Mike?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. The show harmoniously ends with a Maniwa chant and Jess, which was kind of cool to see, again, sense of community. So that was cool. Yeah, like you said, I agree with the Nick Maniwa Hit the Music award. It's definitely that song that the Murphy Boys used. And that's that goes back to what? Like when we were in high school?
Yeah, it was definitely like 2004.
Yeah.
That was on like BET Uncut.
Yeah.
If y'all remember that, if y'all remember them throwing ass on late night BET, Some Cut was definitely being played 3 a.m. on BET.
Definitely takes me back to those high school days. So yeah, agreed. Yeah, I thought it was a nice show. Not our typical show that we cover on these. We oftentimes will go for the heavy hitters with all the names. This one was a fun change from that, with a little bit of personal connection to it for you. Exposed me to some different guys that I normally probably wouldn't give too much thought to. And I think our listeners, probably some of them may feel the same way. But again, it's early days of guys that are kind of making a name for themselves, like Logan James, like Brandon Taggart, the indie guys. Right. Not to discredit them at all. This was a great introduction to some of those guys. So, and I mean, you get the classic IWA stuff, like the brawl at the end where it's all over the building, and introducing managers and bar fights and commentators and weapons and fun spots, people getting stuck in the barbed wire, people flipping into barbed wire. It's good.
And you know what, Mike? I forgot to mention it. All three of these guys got crazy color for that main event. It was like King of the Deathmatch-esque color.
Yeah.
And they did that for free. They mutilated their bodies for me for free. Like, that's even now, however many years later, I'm still affected. 6 years later, I'm still appreciative and nothing but love for everyone that worked this show for me for free to support my family.
To peel back the curtain on our podcast and the way that we kind of have these conversations was, what show should we do for this month? And there were some different ideas thrown out. This was one of them, and you're like, I want an opportunity to put over some of these guys that work for free for me. So I hope you don't mind me saying that.
No.
Publicly. But that was a big part of the motivation, was to give these guys credit for a nice gesture that they did for you personally, and give them the clout that they deserve for doing things like barbed wire matches, or even guys that had no personal connection to you that came in to do a show for free. And that's super cool to see, and I think wrestling is good about bringing people together for stuff like that.
Right, absolutely, man. Nothing but love, like I said, for everyone that did this show. And I think that wraps it up for this episode of Mid-South Memories. Wrestlemaniwa. What do you got going on, Mike? You got anything going on? You got any figures in the pipeline, anything like that?
Yeah, we're kind of, like you said in the beginning, we're getting back to this podcast thing after the summer's now pretty much over. At least as far as school goes, it's over.
Right.
So we'll get back to it. We'll do these things more regularly, try to get back to our normal schedule. It's been an interesting few months for both of us, I think. So we're on to, new things with moving on to getting back on track with this thing. As far as figure stuff goes, I have the typical orders. We've done some fun stuff over the summer too that we haven't really had a chance to talk about. We did most recently an auction for Shane Mercer.
Yep.
Who also relevantly was on this card. I think he had some issues with his car or something to that effect. So we put that figure out there, and I think we got 300. Is that right,
yep.
Nick?
Yep. Shout out to Joyful Violence, aka Bear, on Twitter. Who's
also a repeat offender and a collector of these things, supporter of indie wrestling, and thank you, Bear, for helping out Shane Mercer too. And I hope you enjoy the figure when we get it sent out. We haven't done it yet, but we'll get it to you, bud.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna throw some stickers in his package as well. I gotta get something to mail it in. I don't know what.
Speaking of stickers, I think you had kind of teased it a little bit on social media. We did get some little Midsouth Memories sticker, our first run of them. So if there's any interest from the public, our listeners, thank you guys for listening. If you would like a sticker, please make sure that is known, and we will get a sticker in your hands. I'll count on you, Nick, to coordinate that.
Yes, but I have the Midsouth Memory stickers. I have the Papa Maniwa NWO stickers. I have the Death by Thickness sticker. And then I also have the Nick Maniwa trading card. So if you have any interest in any of those items, I have envelopes, I have stamps. I can get that sent to you. Shout out to Christina and Peapod, who recently got some stickers sent their way. The mailman at my apartment complex is terrible about picking up envelopes that are in the mailbox. So I have to take them to my sister's house so they get mailed. Because if not, they will just sit in my mailbox to rot for weeks and weeks. I think once I was trying to send you something, or maybe a sticker or something, it was just in my mailbox for 2 weeks. And I was like, what the hell are you doing? You see an envelope in there, just grab it, man. You know you didn't put that one in there, just grab it and take it with you. But I digress. So with that, Wrestlemaniwa in the books. Kind of a shorter episode. I like kind of these shorter ones. It's easily digestible, and people have said that they don't care that if the shows we review are online or not. So there might be even some deeper cuts coming. As always, post commentary is forever available. Send me the raw footage. I will, send my commentary cleaned up to your editor of choice, and we can get that together. Just hit me up and we can work something out. Maniwa Figs is slow at the current moment, waiting for some parts to come in, some flannels to come in, waiting to, I need to clean up my desk. We moved it for Tegan Rose's birthday, and it got all disheveled, and I need to put it back in working order. But Papa Maniwa Figs on Facebook. But if you need a figure, definitely hit up Mike Ruff. He will be more speedy than I am at that. With that, we will see you next month here on Mid-South Memories. That's all I gotta say. I'm out of here.
It wouldn't be a show if I didn't cut a promo, and it definitely wouldn't be a show for Nick, because if it wasn't for Nick Maniwa, there would be no Reed Bentley. There would be no Reed Bentley in this company. There would be no Reed Bentley in wrestling, period. The best thing I did was not start tagging with John Wayne Murdoch. It was tagging with the guy named Nick Maniwa. Him and Jeff Toad would make drugs with me, and no one else would, for no money, for nothing other than to just have someone in the car to keep me awake. He's selfless, and nothing that goes on in this company doesn't happen without him. If there's a true number 2, if there's ever been a true right hand, it was not me, it was not John Calvin, it was not Murdoch, it's Nick Maniwa. Thank you, I love you, but he's not office.